the serial number. Now, I picked this up from my cousin to work on for him because the four-wheel drive doesn't work. But what I'm going to show here is in no way the right way to fix this, but it's the way I've done it. It might work long term, it might not, I don't know, but this is how I'd put it back together, and hopefully it'll be a good enough fix to work for what he's going to use it for. He can use an all-time four-wheel drive bike more than he could use just a two-wheel drive, so tried it this way, and we'll see what happens with it. I put this together to show what the process I went through to do this, because I only found one video of someone taking one of these apart, and finding posts about someone tearing in one is very few and far between. So this just shows what I did, and that it can be done if you are don't have a whole lot to work with, like what I did in this situation. When he got here, I narrowed it down to the actuator itself, and it's not a problem with the bike, the electronics or anything, all of that's fine. So it's a problem in the case itself. And I've come to find out that case is, or that part of the diff is like $600, you know, 4 to 6 depending on where you can buy it from. I saw some like on eBay for under 300, maybe under 200, but I don't know if they'd have the same problem. So yeah, this is after it was narrowed down to that being the main, or the only real problem with the four-wheel drive. This is the process I went about solving that for good. Hopefully for good. I mean, if I have to get back into it, well, yeah, that'll be another thing. Four-wheel drive's on. Place the switch. It spins. Let's try cycling it. Off. Back on again. Alright, old diff's back plugged in. Our old selector. Get my new. Alright, solid green, good. Flip the gear. Let's see if I can do it with my hand through the frame like this. Don't weld that cup on. Don't weld anything solid up here, because this has to come out all the way and off that shaft. Has to come off for the shaft to come out to get the front diff out. Don't weld things solid. Alright, fuck it. It might be blurred. Oh, hard to see, but I'll do it this way. Or if maybe I can do it one handed. I know it's vertical, deal with it. You want to know what to do, or you want it to look pretty? There. Easy. Get the shaft out. Hopefully some idiot hadn't welded your cup on solid, and if they have, good luck. I take the entire, like all the arms and all off when I do these, just because I don't feel like fiddling with the ball joints, but that's not necessary. You could easily do it the other way. And she's out. I'll give whoever did this one a break. Yeah, since it pissed me off pretty good. They only, let's see if it focus. There's 4 tacks. That's back there on that shaft. That's easy to grind off, I guess, if you can fit something in there to do it. But people, whoever had this parts box I have over here, not have the same idea. Because that sucker is on there. Yeah, look at that. Welded all the way around. Same with the shifter. Don't do that. I guess I'll put something together on how I took one of these parts, since I've only found one video of someone doing it, and it was in Polish. This, forewarning, pain in the ass. So if I make something, or if you're attempting this, watch out. Thin screwdrivers and try and hammering in where the sensor goes. I guess it has to break a piece out, but if you can get behind it and get it out, you can walk it out with a couple screwdrivers. Good luck. Alright, if you'll excuse the mess my shop's in. I made a breakthrough. I got the two back pieces out, you know, the opposite end of the pinion. And I just have a hard time believing that that is welding from Honda. And it's missing, like, that clip there I didn't have to take out, which the Polish video dude did have to take out. So I think someone's been in here before and welded this piece up, I think. I'm not really sure. It may be Honda. It may be so ugly because they thought no one would ever see it. Anyway, figured it was pressed together. What I use, this big old easy out. Put it in this side, hammered it through because I need to clean this bearing out. It's all full of aluminum powder from something else that broke, but that's not why I'm here. I need to get this piece, that's where your drive shaft hooks to, and this piece, dump those bearing pieces out, fuck it, to be solid. When I put them back together, these just need to be solid. A lot of the things in this is press fit. The pinion is pressed fit into this assembly. Once you remove the pin on the end of that, if yours has one, and if no one's messed with it, it should. It's pressed together really. Been prying on it for a while, trying to figure out how it works. I still don't know how it works, but I guess I don't need to. I just need to figure out how to make it work for me. If I figure that out, I'll make a video badly explaining how I did it. I take it back. I don't believe it's Honda at all. I have a hard time believing they'd let any part, whether it's gonna be seen or not, leave like this. I don't know what they were trying to do. I really don't. I was told the previous owner tried to make it all-time four-wheel drive. Obviously they didn't. And I said, I just have a hard time believing it's all the scratch marks and like missing bits and all that someone else has been inside this thing trying to fiddle with it, other than just wiring together the two wires up at the four-wheel drive switch to, I guess, have it always in four-wheel drive instead of just leaving the switch switch. I don't know. My biggest problem, I'm sure I can figure out a way to conjoin these two and them not move, is this bearing. See if you can hear it. That's it, getting stuck. It's full of aluminum powder. This collar here snapped in two a long time ago by the looks of it. Probably while their stupid temporary fix was still working because of how rounded all the edges are and the other pieces of the collar I have in a bucket out back. I was hoping to get this off so I could clean this bearing out better, because if they want you to buy the entire unit now and parts for it or videos for it coming apart are so difficult, I don't think I'd be able to find just that bearing anywhere. And that's the only part I would need. Now it's spinning, but it's just full of, see if I can see it, aluminum grit. Alright, got things out and cleaned up a bit. This is steel, we know that. This collar here is aluminum. See that notch there? I believe that piece in there is steel. If I can get it close enough, you know, steel to steel, might be able to weld it solid around. Just thought about that. If I can get this aluminum collar off and press this back together and see how close I can get them, might be able to just weld it solid and reassemble it and have all-time four-wheel drive. Because after taking one of these apart once, I can tell you, when I put this thing back together, I don't want it to ever have to come back in here to try it again. It's a pain in the butt. Also because the snap rings don't have any eyes on them. That big one around back has nothing to grab onto it with. In fact, I can show it easier now. I had to take a tiny screwdriver and break that notch out there where the sensor goes in, and then I could get behind it and pry it out. There's this one. It's real tiny bit on the end. That's the only reason I got it out and got it apart in the first place. Alright, I'm sitting in the truck messing with it because it's still raining. Remember that aluminum collar I talked about before? I thought I was gonna have to cut it off. Just took my little screwdriver here, wasn't hard, and stuck it down in here and just twisted it one side at a time, and it just lifted off. So we're left with this now, and I'm gonna go through and clean out all of the whatever that is and all the little aluminum pieces I can find out of it. I'm gonna take this piece and I'm gonna press it back together. Hopefully it gets close enough that, and it won't be me doing it, and be someone who knows what they're doing a lot more than me, can get it close enough for somebody to weld these two pieces together. If I put this together, and I probably will, because like I said, I haven't seen anyone else take one of these apart. They're supposed to be a sealed unit. You're supposed to just buy another one, but where was the fun in that? But it's going to jump all over and not make a whole lot of sense. So if you made it this far and it helps you at all, well, I'm glad, but I doubt it. So. Alright, again, excuse how god-awful messy it is in here. Just tossed everything in here after the flood. But I've got, I think, 6 of the pins together. All the pieces. Alright, so these I'm going to put back where they're supposed to go in order to hold this thing. This piece will be centered in the bearing at the back, and it's pressed in, so it's not a concern. But I want to keep the front, where these go, centered in that bore. It's not going to matter. It's not going to move again. It doesn't need all of them. It just needs to keep it an even distance away from all the walls. So let me do that, and I'll be back, and we'll see about getting these two back together. Alright, see them in there? If I had the rest of them, I'd put them in, but I don't know where they are, and I really don't feel like finding them. So that should be nice and straight now, no wobble to it, especially once it's pressed in into the bearing. I don't have 3 hands, and my tripod with my phone holder, I think, floated away sometime in October when all the water was high. So I'm going to turn this off and try and hammer this back together, and I'll turn it back on. Show if I'm successful, or if I'm not. You know, if I blow the bottom bearing out and we're screwed, then I'll show that too. We'll see. Alright, well, that didn't take long. Right in, and that is definitely close enough, you know, I would believe, to weld it on there. Bearings all feel good. Not that these bearings matter anymore. This one does. All I gotta do now is find somebody to weld it for me, and
works for you.
I do too.
You should be able to just clean that up. Do the other side. I don't want to get too hot.
Yeah.
This is a common thing to break.
I don't know. Yep.
so had it welded. It looks amazing. Yeah, doesn't matter. Hopefully it'll be enough. If it breaks after this, gonna pull it all back apart, knock this bearing off, and just weld it solid all the way around. But hopefully that won't be necessary. We took you bent some welding rod down in there to take up the space more, and then weld it down over top of it. I don't know, I'm not a welder, but hopefully that'll work. All right, we're back to vertical. I know you missed it. And I don't believe I have any gear oil in the shop, so it's gonna be this damn motor oil. Oh, well, I guess it's not, because that leaks. All right, let's try that again. One more time. There we go. Odd color for that, but hey, whatever. Take what I can get. Be easier if I had 3 hands. About as full as I'm gonna be able to get it. Just dump it in, fuck it. Alright, nice and full of oil. It's got some oil in it. Put that back in where it goes. Alright. It gets tight in a spot, but it'll wear itself out. Or it won't, we'll find out. Now this needs to be, ideally I'd have a press. Don't have a press. It's gonna be pushed back down. And I'll pick back up when I've got this down as far as I think it needs to go. I need to find a wooden block to put up here. I don't want to deform this with the hammer. So I'll get that down and pick the phone up again. See, real simple, like this. I actually mentioned it. I filled it up with oil, slid this thing in there, flipped it upside down, turned it around a lot, dumped the glittery oil out, and repeated the process a couple times, trying to wash out that bearing and the inside of that as much as, well, more than it was. And then I filled it back up again, and now I'm about to press it down on. I don't know if it needs that. I don't know if it's going to help or hurt it, but it's got a bearing. It needs some sort of oil in there. Alright, well that bearing came off a lot easier than I thought it would. Just went to hammer it back in. The piece went down, the bearing went up. So we try and find a way to get that down in one piece. If the bearing slips out on you, the backing plate for a Honda 300 brake assembly is the perfect size to beat it back on there. Now I can try and beat it back in here, getting the bearing all the way down. Maybe I can find something, a piece of pipe big enough to go around it. I doubt it, but I can look. Alright, we're going to try it this way, because I cannot find the right size piece of pipe or whatever to go around it. So I'm going to try and heat up the sleeve, the aluminum, and see if I can get it to drop in there. Yep. Sure enough, just heating it for a minute or two. It's back down about where it needs to be. Alright, well that worked a lot better than I thought, and it was a lot easier than trying to pound it in. Now I'm going to take my little homemade pick here. I recommend a good pick set if you're going to do this or any other job around a four-wheeler. Feels like it's low enough. Going around the notch there, but won't really know until I try to put that ring back in. And once I put the ring back in, the rest of this should fall together pretty quickly, because that was what held me up the most taking it apart. Now there's quite a few rings in this setup. There's this, which I think was underneath this one because it came out when I pounded this out. Don't know where it goes. Doesn't really matter. Not in my case. This is the pain in the butt ring with nothing to grab onto it with that holds this assembly in. it shouldn't go in. I mean, it was a pain to get out, but it didn't. Once you can get behind it, it wasn't really difficult. Getting back in there shouldn't be terrible either. There's these two rings. I remember taking one of them off or that I was successful in getting one of them off with a regular pair of snap ring pliers. But I don't remember which one it was or where it went, so we'll see. Don't wait, like, I just dropped one of them, so it might not be necessary at all. Don't wait, like, don't stretch this process out over a couple weeks like I did. It'd be a lot easier to remember if I took it apart at the beginning of the week. Let's see if I can find that ring. I think I see it down there in the trash. I'll try to get that one in. You know, around that ring at the base of that sensor, like I had to bust it out. It goes down there. I probably won't film that. It's common sense. Just push it in there, just like you would any other snap ring. And it's still hot. Right before that, I had pounded the pinion out. We'll put the pinion back in and see where that takes us. All right, see it down in there, that ring. It's back in there. You can see a little bit better. I had a skinnier screwdriver, but that's right where that sensor butts in at. That little notch that's out of there, pound it out with the screwdriver to get behind this ring in the first place. So when I put it back in, I put the nose of it, or the end of it, right here under it, just to help me out if I have to come back to this thing. So I'm not real sure where these two other rings went. There was this seal, and then this metal plate on the back of it here that went in next. Yeah, pinion did not have a snap ring holding it in. It was just the bearing sitting in right here, right like that, and that'll get hammered down in there until it's flush. I'm just making a fool of myself. I don't know where these came from or where they go, so I don't know, don't remember, don't really care. We're just going with the stripped down version of this thing anyway, so it really shouldn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter. I'll get my wooden block again and get the pinion. Yeah, look at that. Get the pinion put back down. Yeah. And there she is. I don't remember if it sat down any further than that. I'll make sure it's all the way down before I go about moving it, but I should have tried that to hold it from the get-go. Much easier. Alright, it's all together. It does have a tight spot, but it did when it was together the first time anyway. I'm hoping it'll work itself out. Alright, all back together. Finally. Light's not on, which is good. Leaking a bit, so it probably would have been a good idea to buy a new seal, but I'm not very worried about it. If it breaks later on or doesn't work for him, I'll just tell him to bring it back and I'll do it again and do it better, like more like you're supposed to rebuild something. But as of right now, it works. I'm going to test it around the yard some. A little bit I can get to around here without trying to tear up something, and then take it back to him, and then if he breaks it, I'll update it and say something. But if nothing else comes of